So recently I purchased a property off the MLS, and it is a property that needs some foundation work, which I've done a lot of these in the past, and I kind of have been shying away from them the last few years because they present some challenges, which, you know, I'm okay with the challenge, but definitely there are some things that you need to know if you're going to take on a project like this. So a couple of main things. One is make sure that you are using a licensed contractor to do this. You want to make sure that they are pulling a permit. Another thing that is really important to get is a schematic drawing of the foundation and where they're going to put the piers. So what they'll do, you know, when you have a foundation issue, is they'll come out, they have a special machine that they use that they can measure the slopes of the floors so that you can see like how many inches it's down and where. And so they come out with that, and then they should be giving you a drawing to show you exactly where it's down, how much it's down, and then where the piers need to go. So that's important because the pricing a lot of times is based on per pier. And then also find out if they're using like concrete pressed piers or if they're like cedar posts. You know, a lot of older houses have cedar posts underneath them. So sometimes those can be shimmed, sometimes not. It just depends on, you know, how unlevel it is. But if they need to be replaced, we do concrete piers now. So, you know, make sure that you're getting the drawing. Another big thing to make sure that you get is at the end, you want to get an engineer's report. So you want a structural engineer to be able to look at this property and sign off on it saying that, yeah, everything's good to go. Also, you need to look for warranty. Make sure the warranty is transferable, because especially if you're flipping the house, you want to make sure that once that work is done, you have to disclose that on your seller's disclosure when you're selling it. And so you have to say, you know, you did foundation work. And what we like to do is I'll actually attach that engineer's report into the listing agreement so that they know that the foundation was done and it was signed off on by a certified, you know, a structural engineer. So that's important. Another thing, whenever the job gets finished, you need to make sure that they're doing a static test. In some companies, they will do the static test for you as just part of, you know, the finishing up the repairs. Some companies, you'll have to contact somebody else to come in and do that for you. So you want to make sure you get a static test. If that fails, then you need to make sure you get a camera test. So what they'll do is they'll go in all the various points and they'll put cameras down all the lines and find where the breaks are. And you really want to make sure you do this because you can really get into a huge bind if you don't do this before you finish the rehab. Obviously, like this project that we just bought, you know, I'm doing the foundation first before we do anything else. So you got to work bottom up because so many things can happen, and mostly it's plumbing breaks and things like that. I'm saying this as a caution because I know a person that actually did not know a lot of these steps that needed to be taken. And so what happened was, they bought the house, they had the foundation work done, but they didn't know they needed a static test or a camera test. And so they went ahead and, you know, had the foundation done, but then they rehabbed the entire house. Well, when the house went up for sale and the inspection was done, there were plumbing problems like crazy. And so I asked, did you get a static test? And they said, no, I didn't. What is that? I didn't know we were supposed to do that. So it ended up costing even more money at that point, because then you've got to undo all that work that was done. So that's a lot of times it's pulling up the flooring, tearing up the landscaping, things like that add a lot of extra cost to your job. So if you can get that under control and get that fixed ahead of time before you complete the rehab, make sure all of that stuff is done before you continue on with the job. Otherwise, you could get yourself really into a financial bind with that project.